Hello there you guys, and welcome back to this little video where we jump down the rabbit hole of holiday tunes. Today we're going to be taking a look at the blessed website 8 Notes, and a very big thank you to 8 Notes for allowing me to use their wonderful website to teach you some tunes. We're going to be doing the very easy basic stuff to begin with, because a lot of my tutorials out there, the Old Masters, there was another one that we did, series, they're a little bit more advanced for real beginners. So if you are a real beginner, if you're having a hard time reading the notes, if you, in particular, if you're on the viola struggling with treble clef, because as violas we have to learn alto clef and treble clef, this video is going to be for you. So before we get started, just a very warm welcome to those of you on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're just watching this a lot later. And you can always check out Patreon. There is always an accompanying picture with everything that we're going to go through verbally, which I have scribbled on and put some helpful things on. We're going to go through that together. Incidentally, take a look in the YouTube description, or if you're on Patreon, in your post today, and there should be a link to 8 Notes and a link to this beautiful piece we're going to be looking at, which is in Dulci Jubilo. So before we go any further, go grab that music, and even though it says violin, we're on the viola today, we're going to be practicing reading treble clef, because as I said earlier, the viola has to learn both clefs. So, it also, last thing about the music is that 8 Notes does offer a lot of music for free, but in the event that this is not available for free, I would highly recommend you get an account with 8 Notes. It's only $20 for the year to subscribe, and we'll be using it a lot. We use it on Patreon, we use it in the studio, in lessons and private lessons. It's just a fabulous website, so pop over there and get to a membership. Okay, so let me play you in Dulci Jubilo. This is a really lovely Christmas carol, and it's one of my favorites. I absolutely love this one. It's just really magical. So let me play it for you first. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So pretty. So let's get used to reading the notes. Now, hopefully I've figured out how to attach a picture in the video of the notes of the treble clef that we're going to be learning today. So, and that hopefully that's on your screen at the moment. And it's all color coordinated for you. So everything that's on the G string, which is, if we order the strings, the highest string is the A string. This is string number 1. And the C string is string number 4. So the G string is string number 3. So this string right here is all in red. The D string, next one over, is all in blue. And our highest string in pitch is in green. There we go. It's in green. So we've got red, blue, and green. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is go through and put in color coordination where the open strings are. So if you look on Patreon, on the picture that's attached for you, you can see I've marked the very first note with a little 0 in blue, because this is the note D, and blue is D. If it's on the D string, it's in blue. This is what our open D string looks like. Couple measures later, we can mark the green A string. So if you're not looking at my picture, but you can see the picture that's on the screen right now with the treble clef, you can find the 3rd full measure, and that very first note there is the A string. So just so that you can see what I'm talking about, maybe it's a little easier to understand if I play it. So our very first note to start with is the D. So I'm going to mark that in a blue 0 because that's our open D string. And we finally change strings. So this is a green open A. So I'm going to continue. Now we need to mark our open string on D again in blue. So then we get to the A string again on that second to last measure of the first line. So that's our green A. Okay, so now the next line, we're still in the A string, so we don't need to do anything. Although if you want to mark the first measure of the second line, this is measure 9. If you want to put a little green 0 to remind you that that's your A string, you can do that. This is in blue because now I'm on the D string, but it's not an open string. This is the note G. The previous note was A, and this is one note down. So this is your third finger on the lower string, which is the note G. D, E, F sharp, G. Okay, so put a blue 3 on that finger. And maybe we're starting to recognize what open D looks like. That's our blue open D string. All those notes are on the D string, but our last measure, we go to the A string. This is a green A. Now measure 18, once again, you can mark the first note of 18 as a A if you want a reminder. That's your 0 in green for the A string. But the next note is one note down from A. So take a look at the music. You can see that you have A in measure 18, and then the next note is one note down. So this is your third finger, but it's on the D string. It can't be on the A string because it's lower than A. So it has to be your third finger on the D string. And all of those notes in the third line, they're all on the D string. And now the last line, we are going to finally get to our G. So is this open G? Take a look at the picture. Is it 2 ledger lines down, like on the picture of the staff? Or is it 1 ledger line down? It's only 1 ledger line down. This is going to be your second finger on the G string. So I'm going to pop over there with second finger. And we've got a slightly different hand pattern on the G string, which I will talk about in a little bit. But for now, you're going to see my third finger come up here. In the past, it had been here. This is the basic hand pattern. But on the G string, we have to do this. And I'll tell you why in a moment. Maybe you already know. So measure 25. And here we are on the open D string again. So a blue 0 on that D. And what's this one? This one is A, green 0. And then we go back to the D string. So this is going to be written in blue since we're on the D string. We've got a 2 there. This is lower. This is your third finger on the G. So this is a red 3. And then finally, a blue open D. Okay, so let me play it once more and then we're going to talk about hand patterns and how I know what hand pattern to use on each string. So from the top. So by the way, this is really beautiful with piano. For those of you that are thinking, what can I play, at church this year? this would be a really lovely one to play. It's easy, it's very beautiful. You can play it 3 times and, you know, the time will just pass by. And it's also on 8 notes, comes with a piano accompaniment, which is so nice. So another perk of 8 notes. Okay, so let's talk about why and how we know what hand pattern to use on each string. So that's why we have a key signature. The key signature at the very beginning, that's the 2 sharps. At the beginning you can see 3, 4. In the very, very beginning you have 3, 4, and then you have 2 little sharps in front of them. And the order of the sharps, if you memorize this, will help you a lot. The order of the sharps is Father, Charlie, goes, down, and eats breakfast. So if we have 2 sharps, it's Father, Charlie, and that tells me where my fingers go. So if I start on the G string, I have G, A, B, this is a C, but this is a C sharp. So you have to have C first and then a C sharp. So that's why it's extended third. Then on the D string we have D, E, this is F, this is an F sharp, and that's what we need. So we need F sharp here. Remember, you have to have the note first, and then if it's sharp, it's higher, because you're raising it if you're sharping it. So instead of having an F, I have an F sharp here, G, and A if I use my 4th finger. So this is what I like to call the basic hand pattern. This is the easy one. And the extended third is very similar. Remember, on the G string, I'm going to just take my basic hand pattern over to the G string, but just put it with the 4th finger. So your fingers are either together, like 2 and 3 are in this case, or they're a whole step apart. There's like a space in between them. That needs to sound like do, re. Okay, so anyway, let's go to the A string. So we have A, B, this would be C, but C sharp is a whole step away, D, and E. All right, so you only have 2 hand patterns. We've got extended third on the G string, you've got basic on the D string, and basic on the A string. Okay, so that's how you know where your fingers go. And then lastly, let's just talk about the time signature. So we have the key signature, which is the altered notes, F sharp, C sharp. And by the way, what's the order of the sharps? Father, Charlie, goes down, and eats breakfast. Let's do it again. So we have Father, Charlie, goes down, and eats breakfast. Da da, da da, da da da. Father Charlie goes down and eats breakfast. Okay? So the time signature is a little different. The time signature tells you how you're going to feel the beat. So we have 3, 4. So the upper number tells you how many notes to count. How many beats to count, excuse me. How many beats are we going to count? Are we going to count to 2? Are we going to count to 3? Are we going to count to 4? How are you going to feel the grouping? So we're going to count 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't tell you about the tempo or the speed. 3, 4 could be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or it could be 1, 2, 3. So it's not telling you anything about the speed. It's just telling you you have to count to 3. Okay? Now the lower number, 3, 4, the lower number is telling you what the beat that you're counting is. So are you counting a quarter note? Are you counting 8th notes? Are you counting 16th notes? Maybe you're counting a dotted quarter note or a dotted 8th note or something crazy like a half note or a whole note. So if it's a 4 on the bottom, it's a quarter note, and we need to know what the beat is, because when we read music, we're not just going to be encountering the same beat all the time. We're not always going to be countering 1, 2, 3. Sometimes you're going to have to hold things for twice as long. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Or you might encounter something that's twice as fast. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. But if you've got your metronome going 1, 2, 3, and you know this is a quarter note, then if you run into 8th notes, you know you're going to go twice as fast. Those would be dun, 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 1 and 2 and 3 and. And we don't have any eighth notes in this piece, but we do have half notes. Those are the ones that are open, and we have quarter notes. And we even have dotted half notes. So we know that we have 3, 4. We have 3 quarter notes in every measure. 1, 2, 3. So this is our beat. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to sing you just the rhythm. 1, 2, bum, 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 bum. So that is the rhythm. Now I went really slow so that we could maybe follow it. But the thing is there has to be 3 beats in every measure. So this first note that we're starting with is called a pickup. And it's not on beat 1, because if it's beat 1, then we have to have beat 2 and 3 after it. It's not on beat 2, because we have to have beat 3 after it. So it's on beat 3. So that's why I counted 1, 2, bum. I came in on beat 3 there. Okay, so with that, I think we'll wrap it up, except for last thing I forgot to tell you is the dotted half note. Let's find a dotted half note. The first dotted half note that I see is the last measure of line 1. I'll play it for you. Here's the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. A dot adds an extra half of whatever it's next to. So if it's a dotted half note, a half note has 2 beats. A half note has 2 beats. So if I add a dot next to it, then I need another half. So that's why it's held for 3 beats. Now also, we've got 3 beats in every measure. We have 3, 4. So by process of elimination, we know this has to be held for 3 beats because it's the only note in the measure. All right, so hopefully I didn't confuse you guys too much. I hope this was enjoyable. Practice this one on the viola and see if you can get used to reading the treble clef. That's why we started with just kind of thinking about putting in the open strings first and not putting in any fingerings really, unless it changed strings. It's helpful to color coordinate it. Try to memorize what your open strings look like. Remember that your open D is that space note below the first line. The A, the open A string, is that second space from the bottom. There's 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So the A string is that second space from the bottom. And then the G string is 2 ledger lines down, and it's a space note underneath that bottom ledger line. Okay, we don't actually have any open G's over here. Thank you guys so very much, and I hope that you had fun. If you have any comments, please let me know, and I hope you're inspired to practice this one and find a pianist to play with. It's just so lovely to play music together. Please check out Patreon. If you're not on Patreon, it's $5. That's or $1 or $5 or $15 or $45. There's a few tiers there. I'd love to see you over there. Take care.